Hi guys, today's video is going to be about when should you introduce foods to your baby. And I'm sorry that the lighting is a little bit weird. It's such a gloomy day today and it's like the only day that I have to film this video. But also before we begin, I want to mention that most of the information I will be sharing with you today is from this book called It All Begins with Food by Leah Garrard Cole. And I love this book, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about it a little bit later on in the video. I just wanted to get that out there. As new parents, there is so much information out there about how you should feed your baby, from the internet to your friends and family giving you advice about what worked for their baby, and it can be very overwhelming. I know exactly how you feel because I was so overwhelmed when I was trying to figure out what foods I should start with and how much foods I should start with. So it gets a little bit crazy, but I hope that this video helps you. Even if you only take one thing from this video, it will make me really happy. With that being said, there is no right or wrong way. Everyone does it a little bit different. There are official recommendations about how you should feed your baby online, and Leah actually lists a couple websites for the US and Canada, and I will link those below if you guys want to check them out. But it's definitely not something that you need to go by 100% because that information always changes with new research that comes out. I would just use it as a guideline, and then you could tweak it to how you want and what you're comfortable with. So when should you start? Some pediatricians say 4 months, some say 6 months, but generally most babies are ready for solids by 6 months. But do not stress yourself about starting at exactly 6 months. Every baby is different. Some babies are ready for food at 4 months, where some is not ready until 6 months or even maybe a little bit later. I wouldn't worry about the timeline. I would focus more on watching for signs from your baby, like they are interested in foods or they are physically ready for food. Leah actually gives a list of signs to watch out for in this book, and I'll read them out to you really quickly. Number 1, your baby will be able to hold her head up in a steady upright position. So if they have still have that bobble neck and they can't really keep their head up straight, then they might not be ready. Your baby is willing to take food into his or her mouth and doesn't push it out. I remember when Jack first started foods, every time I put something in his mouth, he would push it back out with his tongue, and that is a reflex. Number 3, your baby should be able to sit upright, supported. Being able to do this will help your baby be able to swallow a lot easier. Your baby is starting to make chewing-like motions with her mouth, so it almost looks like they're chewing something up. Your baby seems hungry, as if your breast milk or formula just doesn't seem to satisfy them anymore. And your baby is showing signs that they are curious about everything that you're eating. And that was one of the biggest signs for Jack when he was ready to start foods, is that he wanted to eat everything that we were eating. He was always reaching for things and smacking everything. He just wanted whatever we were eating. But if you still want to wait until 6 months to start solids because of other research that you've read, such as there's no benefits to really starting foods until 6 months, then that is totally okay. As long as your baby has no weight issues and they seem to be thriving still on your breast milk or formula, then I don't see any reason why you can't wait until 6 months. I personally was going to wait until 6 months with Jack before starting solids, but at around 5 months he started showing signs that he wanted to eat food, like I said, he was very curious about what we were eating, and he would even open his mouth to try and eat it himself. He could sit up supported. He did still push things out a little bit with his tongue every time I put something in his mouth, but I just went with him. I didn't force anything upon him, and like I said, every baby is different. Some are ready way earlier than others, but I would never force your baby to eat if they're not ready. And a good example of this is a mom in my local Facebook group, mommy group, asked she asked how can she make her baby more interested in the foods she was trying to feed him. I don't think she was forcing him to eat, but I guess she was offering him food and he wasn't eating it. And maybe it wasn't obvious to her, but it just screams to me that he's just not ready for foods, and that is okay. I personally think 4 months is a little bit early to start solids with your baby, but if your baby is having health issues or they're just really interested in foods, then I don't see why not. As long as they have all the signs that they are ready, and you know, if your doctor says that it's fine, then sure. But I would always go by your baby's lead and not by like fixed dates such as like 6 months or 4 months. Just go with your baby. So a little bit about my story and how I started food. So like I said, Jack was ready and showing signs at around 5.5 months, and I wanted to wait until 6 months. That was my plan. And I booked an appointment to see my pediatrician at around 6 months because I had so many questions. I didn't know what to feed him, when to start feeding him, or how much to give him. So I found it so overwhelming. I can't tell you how many times I went to the grocery store and stood in front of the baby food and wanted to cry, and I left every time empty-handed because there's just so many options and so many different kinds of cereals, so many different kinds of baby food. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. So after I went and seen the pediatrician, I left kind of a little discouraged. I didn't really feel much better leaving than I did when I went in, because my doctor just told me that there's no right or wrong way to feed your baby, which is kind of good in a way because she's not like pro this or pro that. But I'm the type of person, I need something to go by. So when she didn't really give me much information, when I left, I stopped into a local bookstore and I was looking at all the books, and I decided to go with this one. Again, It All Begins with Food by Leah Garrett Cole, and I am so glad I picked up this book. I love this book. It answered every question that I had. There's kind of 2 ways you can introduce foods to your baby, either baby-led weaning or purees, and she's not like one is the right way versus the other, so that's kind of good in a way. She kind of talks a little bit about both. So I really like that, and if you have any questions, I highly suggest picking up this book. There's lots of great information in there. I think I'm going to make a separate video about a review of this book and go through it because it's just so good. But yeah, so I introduced foods at a little bit before 6 months. So again, every baby is different. You don't need to introduce foods at 5 months just because, you know, your friend introduced food at 5 months, or just because your mom is telling you like, oh, like I fed you at 4 months old, doesn't mean that you have to. Go with your gut and don't listen to everyone else. If you are not comfortable feeding your baby at 4 or 5 months, then don't, as long as your baby is not like starving. But I feel like you will know, and just listen to your baby, watch your baby for signs, and I'm sure you will know when he or she is ready. I'm also going to be doing a video about what should you feed your baby, so keep an eye out for that. And I might do a video about prepping baby food. I actually need to do that. I don't know if I'm going to do it today or not because I think Jack just woke up, but if you would like to see that video, let me know and I can film that as well. But thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video helped you even a little bit. But thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!